This is the introduction to the fundamentals of professional cinematography. This teaching was created for the tech booth in Covenant Life Church in Sarasota, Florida. The next slide will show our equipment layout. Then we will follow with the following subjects. In this teaching, we will learn shot selection, storyboarding, cropping, the rule of thirds and the golden points, description of headshots, transitions, being prepared and the importance of being prepared, and where the eye travels. This is the Covenant Life Church tech map. First, you see the front stage up front, then a piano on the left and an organ on the left. Then over on the right, we have the drum set. We have a stationary camera above that. Down below, you see the tech booth, where the title caption for the PC is, the soundboard, the video switcher, and the camera remote control, and 3 cameras that are stationary just in front of the tech booth. One of the things we don't have in our church is headsets. The importance of headsets is the ability for the director to give instructions to each camera operator and everybody that's in the tech booth. Everybody hears what's going on and everybody is working as a team. Now we'll start with shot selection. First shot is an extreme wide shot. This is your establishing shot and it lets your audience know where you are. A wide shot is similar, but it just encompasses not quite as much. A mid shot is one of your more common shots. It has 1 or 2 people on stage or a full shot of the speaker. A close-up shot we're going to call a 3/4 shot of the speaker, like from the knees up or from the waist up type area. Extreme close-up would be from the top of the podium up to just above his head. And shots that are not available at Covenant Life Church for technical reasons, but we should have on our wish list would be a pan shot, a zoom shot, and a tracking shot. Yes, our cameras can zoom in and out, but it's electronic and very jerky, so we need to get the right zoom. Now for our church, this is what we would call an extreme wide shot. You can see the piano player, the stage, part of the audience, the drum player, and that's important to see part of the audience. Next, we see a wide shot. This is just everybody on stage, the piano player and the choir. Then we'll go to a mid shot. We see 2 people in this shot. Here is still a mid shot. The drum set over on the left side would be taking up what you would be kind of like 2 people. So this is still a mid shot. And here we are moving in a little closer, mid shot, kind of waist up or just below the waist, and some headroom. This is a 3/4 shot. You could say it's a mid shot, but it's like a 3/4 shot where we're looking at the speaker. Again, another 3/4 shot looking at the speaker. This is a good close-up shot on the left. This is an extreme close-up shot on the right. This is probably the better shot because she is showing the audience something, an iPhone, and the camera operator should move in as close as possible. A storyboard simply establishes the shots and angles of the shots that you're going to go to. So let's take a look at what a good-looking storyboard would be looking like and how Hollywood might set up this storyboard. If we had a Hollywood storyboard, it might look something like this. We'd start with opening titles, then an establishing shot, an establishing or wide shot, and then move to a wide shot. From there, we would go to a mid shot. then to another wide shot, mid shot. From the mid shot, we can go to a close-up shot, and then we'd move back out to a mid shot, maybe another mid shot, back into a close-up, then mid shot, then close-up, and then a mid shot, and then a wide or establishing shot as we exit the video. Then finally, ending titles. Shot selection may never be perfect, but what we should be aiming for is something like the title, then establishing shot, a wide shot, a mid shot, and close-up. Then back to a mid shot, then to a close and a mid, and wide and title. What we're trying to do here is work from an overall picture down to mid shot and a close-up or extreme close-up if you have it, and then progress back out the same way. We're stair-stepping into the shots and stair-stepping back out of the shots. This makes a much more professional film than if you're going from an extreme wide shot to a close-up or a close-up to an extreme wide shot. That really doesn't work. If you watch movies and cinematography, you usually almost never find that. So this is what we're aiming for. Now we want to talk about cropping and framing your picture. Now we have a guy here on the left that has a little bit of sky above him and a little bit of ground below him. Over on the right, we see a boat has 1/3 sky, 1/3 boat, and 1/3 water. Without that, it just doesn't feel right. The man needs to be standing on ground. The boat needs to be sitting on water. There needs to be sky above him. This is called the rule of thirds. It's when you have a third above and a third below and a third in the picture. It's not exact, but it's close. Now let's talk about where to crop. We never want to crop at joints, and this is true in photography or cinematography. Notice on the left, he was cropped at the ankles. That's not good. Over on the right, he's cropped between the knees and between the hips. This is very acceptable. Over here, we can see on the left, he's been cropped in the elbows. Not good. And over on the right, we see he's cropped between the elbow and the shoulder. This is good framing for cinematography or any kind of photography. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of good and bad cropping. Here's the rule of thirds on the car. You see there's plenty of ground under the car, and there's sky above the car. Over on the right, what is the car sitting on? It's kind of awkward. Now let's take a look at an inanimate object, like a house. Here, the house on the left looks beautiful. The house on the right, what is it sitting on? We really don't know. It just doesn't feel comfortable. Here are a couple of examples of improper cropping. In the first picture on the left, we see he's been cropped at the elbows. In a viewer's mind, they're wondering where the hands are. In the second picture, we see he's been cropped at the joints, the ankles. The viewer is wondering, what is he standing on? People, cars, boats, houses, etc. are always on something. So we don't want to crop at the base or the joints, but give them some ground. The rule of thirds is the sister of the golden points rule. They're very similar. To the left is a diagram that shows the percentages of which of the cross sections that most people will look at. The red circles on the diagram indicate points of an image called golden points. Golden points are where a photographer would try to keep the main focus of their image. This could be a person, an animal, a tree, etc., or even an important detail on a subject's clothing. Now, once you learn the thirds and try and execute those properly, it's known that you're going to break those rules at specific times when necessary, and that's very acceptable. But the first part is to learn the rule of thirds. Now, the application. This is our choir director. Now, let's see where the golden points are and if he's close. Oh, he is perfect. He's absolutely perfect where the golden points are. Here's a speaker. Let's see where the golden points line up with him. It's very, very good. He's just a little above that circle there, that golden point. I'd say he's still in that area where most people are going to be looking. Let's look at the young piano player. Another absolutely perfect framed video. There's also, you can recognize there's ground below her and there's sky above her. Not too much of either, just right. Here's the choir. Let's see how the golden points look on this. You can see that they're kind of in the zone of that rule of thirds, almost a third sky above and a third sky below. And you see where the golden points line up? That's a well-framed overall shot. Here's another overall shot. Very same, very similar, very good. There is almost always an exception to every rule in photography. The following is a shot that is framed excellently. There is a space above the head, below the feet. It's a wide shot that works. The golden points are not where the focus is in this photograph or in this frame. You can see this is our pastor, and here's the golden points. He's outside of them, but he's got head space, he's got space above his head and ground below his feet. This is a wide angle shot, and it works. So, according to the golden points, we're breaking the rules, but the shot works very well. And we have to use good judgment when we're doing cinematography. This is a description of headshots. When a director calls out for a headshot, he'll be looking for most likely one of these three shots. The headshot on the left is looking straight into the camera. A three-quarter shot is about 45 degrees off to the left or to the right. And a profile, you can see here on the far right, is just an outline of the face. So when the director calls for that, now you know what he's looking for. When the director calls out for a three-quarter shot, you see on the left here, that's a three-quarter shot with his face looking off about 45 degrees to his left. When the director calls out for a headshot, you see it's a straight-on shot of the speaker. And then we have the profile shot. You can't see both eyes. That's a big clue that it's a profile. And over on the right, remember those drawings you did in grade school of a profile? There's a profile shot. At Covenant Life Church, we use two transitions, a dissolve and a cut. Watch this.
This is our righteous advocate before the Lord. He starts talking about this moral evidence of eternal life. Moral evidence is you keeping the commandments of God.
Did you see the dissolve going from one scene to the next, but it was the same scene?
Fail at something. If I never do it, I'll never fail. Of course, I'll never get anything done, you know? I do think, and I was sharing with the elders when we met a week or two ago.
Okay, now we're going to talk about transitions. There are hundreds of transitions that Hollywood can use, but most likely, most films are going to either use a cut or dissolve. They don't use all those funny, crazy transitions that you can find in editing packages. Those are rather amateurish looking. So let's talk about them. In the post-production process of film editing and video editing, a dissolve is a gradual transition from one image to another. Generally, but not always, the use of a dissolve is held to indicate that a period of time has passed between two scenes. In other words, like moving from yesterday to today, or from this morning to tonight. Those would be good places to have a dissolve. A film transition is a technique used in the post-production process of film editing and video editing by which scenes or shots are combined. Most commonly, this is thought of a normal cut to the next shot. These other transitions may include dissolves, L-cuts, fades, usually to black, match cuts, and wipes. The above definitions are the norm for the film industry. Now we will see how transitions should be applied to Covenant Life's filming. First, we don't have post-production. That means filming the entire morning and then coming back and editing. What we have is live, on camera, switchboard editing. So it's like shooting a wedding. You get one shot at this and it's got to be right. We are editing live on the switchboard. The switch operator should know when to use dissolves and when to use cuts. Covenant Life is basically only using two transitions, which on one hand makes editing very easy. Critiquing. Why do we do it? Well, first, it's a detailed analysis and assessment of filming. Critiquing filming is not personal. It's looking at the rules of cinematography, photography, and editing for only one purpose: to make filming or your film better where it needs to be better. If you have somebody that knows filming and cinematography, have them critique your films. It will only improve everything you're doing. When I was going through cinematography school, we were taught the principles or basics of filming, then given assignments to go out and film, and by the end of the week, our films were developed. And Fridays were screening days. The whole class would be in the screening room with our instructor. First, the class would critique each film, and then the instructor would. The first screenings was like being in a butcher shop. Just about everything wrong you could imagine was pointed out. Week after week, the good students' films were receiving less and less critiques and more praises. After several months, students and instructors were saying, "That's pretty good," or "very creative," etc. My point is, critiquing is a pathway for improvement, so appreciate it. Now, applying good practices and bringing the video and filming up to a high level of professionalism is a goal. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, do your work heartily as for the Lord and not for people." In other words, let your service in the tech ministry be the Lord's work. It is for Him. This is sharing the gospel with others. Okay, we're going to take a look at some examples of bad technique. Once a musician starts, until they finish, only cuts should be made, not dissolves. You see, we're going back and forth in dissolves. The musicians have taken the stage. That's their space. When the camera moves from one angle to another, we are not changing time. That's why we only use cuts. Dissolves are for changing time or space. Going from the band to a speaker, we can fudge and it's changing space. Then the speaker owns that space. Here's a great close-up. This should be a cut, not a dissolve. This should be a cut, not a dissolve. Why? Because dissolves are transitions in time or space, and we haven't done that here. We're in the same song, going from the same speaker. Now the camera is on her. A voice is coming from somewhere else. The camera should be on the other person singing, not her just looking into space.
In our devotion.
Let's make some rules here. Here's the speaker, and he's going to be praying. We want to be close up. Prayers are personal. Wide shots, mid shots don't feel personal. So here he is, the whole stage. It should be a personal thing going on.
Yes, our thanksgiving in our devotion.
Here he is
Are we
again.
devoted to him? Let's pray.
The camera didn't zoom in.
Heavenly
The film
Father,
is edited so you can see where the camera should be. Doesn't this feel
there are times
better?
where we have no
Even a
words to
little tighter
express
shot on him would be better.
our gratitude.
Now, the speaker had given this drawing to the tech ministry and asked them to put it up when he's speaking. But he probably should have given it to somebody who knows how to do graphics and make them professional looking. After all, this is going out over YouTube to anybody that's watching.
Our service here, as we've said the last couple of weeks, we have open.
What's wrong with this transition? If you said it should be a cut, not a dissolve, you're right. Since we have a schedule of events every Sunday morning, we can also have a shot list. Now we'll look at the shot list for the camera operator and the switch operator. It's simple once you've done this a couple of times. The director or the team lead creates a list of events. Events are a specific time of activity. Event 1 will be in gray, Event 2 will be in white, Event 3 in gray, and so on. A simple rule of thumb, going from one event to another is where dissolves can be used. Once the event starts, the switch operator should use cuts and only cuts. The following page would show an example of the shot list and where the dissolves and cuts should be used. Here's an example of a shot list at Covenant Life. We start out with the dissolve into the call of worship. During the call of worship, cuts only. From the call of worship to the next event, come ye thankful people, we can do a dissolve. And in here, only cuts will be used until that event is open. Then we can dissolve to the welcoming prayer, etc. Right now at Covenant Life, the dissolves have been pretty quick. I suggest 2-second dissolves. Now, dissolves are quick, but most professional dissolves are not quite that fast. Let's talk about live editing the events. We know a dissolve is a great way to transition from one event to another. But when we are in events, we only use cuts. Well, when do we use cuts? Well, I'm glad you asked. Did you ever notice viewers are already trained? That's right. Most have seen thousands of hours of TVs and movies. TV and movies are almost never have long scenes, like one shot lasting 4 or 5 minutes. That just doesn't happen. In the film industry, films made after 1961, most scenes run between 1.5 minutes and 3 minutes. Your audience has been trained to expect cuts and transitions happening often, so let's give them what they want. Have they been trained because they've been watching movies and TV for years and years? Now, we have plenty of camera shots available, so let's use them. We go from wide to mid to close up to mid to close to mid shots and so on. We should find a time to cut to a different camera angle and never let a scene last longer than 2 minutes. If the message on a Sunday morning is 30 minutes, that comes to about a total of 15 cuts, and a few more is okay. We are not filming an action scene, so 2 minutes max should be about right. When do we make cuts? The better question is, when do we not make cuts? We don't make a cut in the middle of a thought when somebody's thinking and explaining something. For example, when the speaker says, "Let us pray." The camera is on a mid shot. Now we cut to a close-up. Good place to make a cut. The speaker says, John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." And you cut to a wide shot in the middle of that sentence. That's not a good place to be cutting. Let's think of it another way. You wouldn't interrupt somebody when they're talking or telling a story or in the middle of a sentence. The most important place not to cut is in the middle of a sentence. Always wait for somebody to take a breath or finish a sentence, and then make your cut. Being prepared. What I mean by this is being ready for the next shot. Whatever shot is live, the next shot should be up in the right corner of the switchboard operator's switchboard. The camera operator and the switcher are always working together. The camera operator needs to have the next shot always lined up. If the camera operator is on a close-up, the backup shot should be a mid shot, so the switcher can cut to a wide angle shot or wider. If the live shot is a mid shot, then the camera operator should still have a wider shot lined up for the switcher to make a cut to it. No one is perfect, but we can come close if we're prepared. If the speaker is walking out of the scene on a live shot, the switcher should be able to cut to a wide shot and keep the subject on screen. An empty screen is really not good. When is a close-up too close? If the hands are going out of the frame or the head is being cut off, the camera is too close and should back out some to the next shot. Here we're going to look at some examples. This is what the switchboard operator sees. On the top left is live. On the top right is the next shot, the preview. Now the preview shot is almost a decent close-up, but it's cutting him off at the elbows. It's cutting off at the joints, which we don't want to do. Either back out a little bit and show his hands, or get in even tighter so that we're almost doing a face shot. Down at the bottom are the different cameras that are on stage. Here we see in the preview, if we go to this shot, we're cutting him off at the ankles, which is something we don't want to do. All right, let's talk about where the eye travels, or maybe call it visual continuity. I'm going to use a car chase like we have in movies. We've all seen car chases in movies, and that's a good example. When watching the car chase, we see the car going from left to right. In the next scene, it should be going from left to right in the scene. So, oops, in this car chase, we see the car coming from right to left. The visual continuity is broken, and it doesn't feel good to the viewer. So that would be a mistake in filming. Here we see the speaker looking in one direction on the left, and then if we bring in the next shot, he's looking in another direction. What's the problem? In the left scene, visually your eye is traveling to the right. In the next scene, visually your eye wants to travel to the left. This is a little confusing to the viewer subconsciously. There will always be times when you can't do anything about this, but when possible, we should try the following. So how do we fix this? Well, first, if a car is coming one way, then try coming straight at you. Then he can go the other way, and it's not bothersome or visually confusing. We can do the same with our speakers. Let's see. Here's a good example of how we fix this problem. On the left, you see the eyes are traveling to the right, and then the middle shot, you see the eyes are traveling head on. Then the shot on the right, the eyes are traveling to the left. And this feels comfortable. Yeah, the middle shot isn't a pure head shot, but it's the best that we have. The principle here is not to go from eyes traveling from the left to the eyes traveling to the right, but guide the eyes from left to center, then to right, or vice versa. And it feels comfortable. It works. On Sunday mornings, when you tune in to see CLC's live streaming, you'll see this for 4 or 5, 6, 7 minutes. And to see this on the screen for 4 or 5 minutes is extremely boring. I would suggest that we plan a project that will change this. Either collect pictures from our known photographers in the church or take new ones of the ministries from our church and have a slideshow or a video of our ministries. Slideshows are very easy to make. I hope this will help you be a better cinematographer or a filmmaker and an editor. I hope this will help you to become a better cinematographer and a filmmaker and an editor. These techniques applied will give your filming a professional look and feel. These techniques can be used in any filmmaking, weddings, birthdays, training videos, etc. I wish you all the blessings and success in your endeavors. This is Rich Genders.